cheer people, and welcome back to the channel, my fellow Drifter Maniacs. Today for your perusal we have virtually the final build of my no prep RC drag car on here. I say virtually because the keen-eyed amongst you will have noticed we are missing 3 inches from the back of the wheelie bar due to an incident which you will see later on in this video. Anyway, I'm going to get the camera now, talk you through the spec of this car, then we're going to have a short blast around the drive which is going to highlight a few issues which I've got to sort with the car, predominantly the electrics. We're running a Castle XLX ESC on here, Trinity 2.5 turn Dragmaster motor on here. They seem to be working well together, but there's something is glitching in the electrics. I fire the thing up on the bench, give it full throttle, and the rear tyres just light up like crazy. But absolutely ballistic. Get it out on the driveway and the thing is like hopping as though there's some misconnection on the electrics on there. So it's something you need to work on. But I guess that is half the thing about a no prep drag car, is all the testing that you do before race day. Ensuring it is running right, nail it in a straight line, etc, etc. Speaking of which, definitely, as you will see later on in this video, you need to get the steering sorted. And whilst we've got a super strong Power Hobby steering servo in here doing the steering duties on here, I definitely need to work on the steering trim on the car, because like one wheel is pointing this way at the front and the other is like that on that. It just looks horrible. Visually you will see it on that, so it needs to be strip the front of the car down and adjust that. Anyway, let me get the camera down, talk you through the spec of the car, and I'm going to list every part I've used on this car so far, which is adding up to well over $1,000. Nobody tell my wife. Okay, well, to get straight down to it, doing the steering duties, we have a Power Hobby PH 300 BW servo, 24 kilos on 8.4 volt BEC on there, and the speed on the thing 0.001 of a second. So that should mean I should be able to correct the car if it goes out of line too badly on here. Now, I mentioned the steering. Look at the front on there, one of the wheels is way out of line from the other. Anyway, let's dive down. I'll start at the front of the car and work my way backwards on here. We've got Traxxas Gtr Shocks both at the front and the rear, thanks to Earl Moorhead for advising on the spring rates on there. 70 weight shock hole at the front, 100 weight shock hole at the back. The 100 weight shock hole is very, very hard to get hold of at the minute. Now, in terms of other upgrades I've done to the car, well, obviously we've got the metal arms both at the front and the rear. The rear ones are actually longer than the stock ones by about nearly a centimetre on here, so I've got separate track rod arms on order for those. Now, you will notice from the outset we've got a carbon fibre chassis on here. This was bought as a roller from eBay, cost of about 190 bucks on there. I was thinking at that point, yeah, you've got a good start on this, Rich, it's going to be a fairly cheap build. Oh boy, was I way out of kilter on that. These shocks, the GTR ones, about $35 a pair, both at the front and the rear, and about another $5 for the springs on there. Plus you need to take into account the cost of the shock hull on there. Now you'll also note we've got carbon fibre shock tires both at the front and the rear. Again, about 36 bucks a piece on there. Proline body mounting kit, I'll show you the body later on in the video. And speaking of Proline, there is quite a few other Proline parts on the car. For start with, the Proline Hoosier tyres and rims on the car, both at the front and the rear. Probably one of the most expensive bits which is not budgeted for on the car is this Proline 32 pitch gearbox on here. The car's also running ceramic bearings all round, so wherever I can I've replaced them, front, back, etc. on the car, including the gearbox, which took about half an hour just to take apart purely to fit 2 bearings to it. Attention to detail, I figure, is everything on a build like this. At the back here we've got a Trinity 2.5 turn brushless Dragmaster motor on here. Whether that's giving the electrical issues, I'm not quite sure. I think it's probably running fine. My gut feel is it's down to this tactic radio with a lack of neutral point. As you will see at the back there, as you will see at the back here, we had a very nice looking composite wheelie bar on here, which appears to have lost the last 3 inches of it, including the roller bearings with it. So we're going to find that in the driveway later. Earl Moorhead recommended I get a Castle XLX ESC on here, slightly overkill. You're also around about 250 bucks, something like that. Now, at the heart of the matter, down here we have got a Gens Ace 5800 milliamp 2S battery pack on here. 100C consistent, 200C burst. This thing is like absolute dynamite. Love it to bits. The punch level on this thing is just out of this world on here. Hopefully people like the wiring that I've done on the car. It was looking super nice and smooth, but tonight I've put in the Castle B-Link in order to program that ESC in order to up the punch level, up the braking level, because the car didn't seem to be braking that well, nor does it when I've changed the parameters on the ESC, which is why I'm thinking the radio is the biggest culprit in this build tonight. But overall, hopefully it's looking fairly good. Also, I've replaced just about every screw I can with titanium ones on here to save weight. It's also got its running titanium front axles on there at about 30 bucks. But I figured on this thing, I've been buying a couple of bits for it each month on here, which is added up to a frighteningly large amount of money. But I wanted to keep the weight down, do it right. Hopefully it's looking pretty good. Obviously now the key bit is getting it set up. Anyway, let's take a look at the gearing. Now I'm running 55 tooth spur and 11 tooth pinion on there. This metal gear was actually from an axle crawler. It took me about 3 hours to drill the center hole out large enough to fit around this shaft on here, because this is a hardened gear. So that was a nightmare in itself to do, but hopefully that will pay off in the long run on here. Let's say Proline body mounts, which you will see in a minute, are not exactly perfect, and that's going to need a little bit of work on there. But let me know your thoughts, people, on this thing. It has been a labour of love, to say the least. So what about that body? And at the back of the car, controlling all that power, we've got MIP drive shafts. Well, once again, went with Proline in terms of the body on there. Body appears to be fitting fairly well on here. Front should attach down without any problem at all. However, at the rear, I've still got to sort this out, because it's ideally, the Proline body mounts are designed to fit flat to the car. Obviously mine's at like a 45-degree angle, so a little bit of work to do on there. But do let me know your thoughts on it, people. I'm quite pleased with the build quality I managed to do, and particularly in terms of getting all the wiring sorted out, etc. on there. But anyway, I think it's about time we took this outside for a little test drive around the yard, which is not the ideal place for this at all. As I said, it does highlight some electrical gremlin issues which we have to deal with, but it is what it is under current conditions we are dealing with today. Okay, I have absolutely no idea how well this is going to go. Heating the tyres. Let's see how it goes. Ooh. Not that impressed to start with. Definitely need to make a few adjustments on that ESC. Bear in mind, it is only 2S power, I suppose, and this is not the highest of grip surfaces on here, and that front suspension definitely needs, the steering definitely needs sorting out. But full throttle. Well, that ain't going to win any drag races, but neutral point seems to be virtually non-existent, because the minute I hit the throttle, the car's going into reverse instantly on there. So definitely need to play around with that. We'll get there. Yeah, see? No brakes. Brakes are non-existent on there. I've had to play around with the power because it was giving full throttle in reverse, but only like half power going forwards on there. So now I've got full throttle going forwards. Got a bit of heat in the tyres, and full throttle launch, and it just hops forwards. So something is majorly amiss in terms of electrics. I have a sneaking suspicion that I'm going to need to change the radio on this. Now, a sneaking suspicion I need to change the radio on this. We've got brand new ESC in there, but when you give it full throttle, It's just like hop, skip and a jump moving forwards on there. But pleased with the look of the car, pleased with the build. Just got sort of the details out on there now. When you give it full throttle in the air, no hesitation at all. But when it's on the ground, it's like skipping around like crazy on there, as though there's some electrical issue on there. So I need to have a play around with it off camera. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below the video. I'm very, very pleased with the build on there. Got the Castle B-Link at the front, as I've just been playing around with the parameters of the car. So hopefully you can see we're about 90-95% of the way there on this build. The last 5-10% is purely going to be on the setup, the testing outside, and I'm going to change that radio out. I'm not at all happy with the performance from the Tactic radio on there. There seems like zero neutral point in the car. I go to brake and the thing immediately hits reverse. That's not right to my mind on there. So I'm going to play it. So I've got a brand new radio which I'm going to fit to the car in the morning, and over the weekend I'm going to be testing this using the drag racing option on my Power Hobby GNSS analyzer. So we're going to be able to see just how fast this thing launches to 132 feet and what speed we get out of the car. First job tonight though is to get that front suspension sorted out, because it just looks absolutely awful there, Richie boy. Anyway, last thing I would like to say, many thanks to Will Moorhead for a major contribution in towards the setup, parts to buy for this car, and many others along the way that have contributed when I've been doing the live videos. I'm not knowing what the heck I was doing. Fit this part here, fit this part there, Richie. Love you all to bits for that, guys and girls. Anyway, stay safe. I have a feeling this thing will be blisteringly fast when I get it fully sorted. Thanks for watching. And lastly, this is exactly how I broke the end off that wheelie bar. Well, thumbs up if you like this video, guys. Post any comments you might have in the comment section below the video, and hit the circle below to subscribe. And if you do hit the circle, don't forget to hit the bell.